Hey everyone, I'm Eric. This is my wife Julie. We are the Blended Life, and welcome tonight.
Yeah, welcome you guys.
Yeah, so tonight's topics.
Well, first we're going to address all this coronavirus stuff, I just think.
Oh yay, more of it.
More of it.
Okay.
But then we're going to go into financial fairness in the kids in the home.
Yeah.
We've had people talk about that recently.
Okay.
How to deal with double standards in your home.
Okay.
Or even double standards that exist between the two homes for your kids.
Okay.
Keeping your child's secret from the other bio parent.
Okay.
Like if your child tells you not to tell their other parent.
Oh yeah.
What do you do about that?
Okay.
I think that's good advice. And then adult children and divorce. Well, because divorce is hard on kids. It doesn't really matter what age.
Right.
But what is the expectation for adult children?
Oh, okay.
When you're divorced and remarried or dating, is it different than your 5-year-old?
Right. Okay. So where do we start?
So I'm sure everyone's just so sick of the coronavirus.
No pun intended.
Thing. I just want to... There's a lot of opinions going around. There's a lot of conspiracy theories. But the reality is it's really affecting everyone. It's like we're all mandatorily sick. We're honorary sick people who can't go anywhere or do anything.
Anyone's sick. Do you know anyone sick?
No. And I think that there
sick?
are people that are really sick with
Of
this.
course.
And you know, that's a real issue. And I'm not downplaying the coronavirus thing. I'm just saying that businesses are suffering. People are losing jobs over it.
Yes.
I mean, all of California's schools, I think, have shut down. And what do parents do if they have to go to work, but now they have, 4 or 5-year-old kids who can't stay home alone?
They put on Blended Life, and they set their kids in front of it, and Julie doesn't cuss, and we'll just entertain them all day. Just kidding. I'll entertain them all day.
Yeah,
yeah.
For sure. And I just kind of want to bring that up. And then also, so I just want to acknowledge that we definitely feel in our business too, specifically, it's really changed our reality this week of our income possibly and our family. So I just kind of in full I just want you guys to know that we too are having to really have hard discussions, make hard decisions, prepare for what if we both are out of work, what are we going to do about income? And so it's a real problem. And so there's that. I just want to acknowledge, and I'm sorry for everyone who's like that, who's just doesn't know what they're going to do. I know you can file for unemployment. So I'm in HR. So let me also spread this, right? If you are an employee, you can file for unemployment.
If you're laid off or furloughed or...
all of it. So
what if you're still working?
We have employees whose hours fluctuate during the week.
Right.
Just the nature of our business. So what they do is if you have regular a reduction in hours, you can go, and I guess every state is different. I'm speaking for California. If you have a reduction in workforce, you can go to unemployment to get relief and help for those hours that you're working. If you're furloughed, you can go get unemployment. I'm hearing now, and you guys can comment below or correct me or whatever, if your school's closed, your child's school's closed and you have to stay home with them, I'm hearing that you can apply for paid family leave and use that in this emergency coronavirus situation.
Okay.
So that can be helpful if, it's come to that where you have to stay home and you can't go to work because your kids are home.
On the flip side of that,
so
don't take advantage of it. If you guys don't have to, don't do it because there's going to be so many people doing it. It's just going to affect our economy.
Right. Well, and then if you're blessed to have a job during this time, consider yourself super lucky too.
Yeah. And let's also just hope that this blows over quickly.
Yeah.
None of us get it.
Yeah.
Or affected by it. None of our family members, and everyone stays healthy.
True. And so this also the coronavirus brings up a lot of wash your hands, sterilization,
wipe your butt.
hygiene.
There is no toilet paper.
And
hey, so hang on. That brings up another point. Why is there no toilet paper during this coronavirus thing? Does anyone know?
I've heard rumors, so I'm not sure.
Sorry, Instagram. Not sure why the audio is weird. It's through the phone.
This is on YouTube.
On YouTube, huh?
On YouTube, your audio was weird. Here, it's fine. If you're on YouTube, can you please let us know if our audio is...
We're underwater? Sorry, you guys. This is odd.
I'm sorry. Okay, well...
I think it's a buffer issue. The internet has the coronavirus.
The coronavirus
But
is
this brings me back to my point
internet.
real quick. Sorry, you guys. Why is there no toilet paper during the coronavirus issue? Is it like... So
the most ridiculous thing I've heard, because I have heard this has been talked about in our office, even one of my coworkers said it's because people were trying to... I don't know if this is true, so I apologize, but people... are trying to make masks out of toilet paper.
Oh my gosh.
And I heard specifically China, but I don't know that. And so there's a panic, but that's counterintuitive because toilet paper just absorbs and breaks down. It like disintegrates. So you get snot or saliva on it. It does
nothing.
I don't know. I've heard that.
Let's get on to the blended life stuff. I'm over the coronavirus stuff.
You are. I do
it's
have
ridiculous.
So some good advice came out of this because I have a friend who's working. She actually has a high risk pregnancy, and I hope you don't mind if I share this. You know who you are if you're listening at all. But she has a high risk pregnancy, and so she's also a germaphobe already. And so her stepdaughter is very unclean. Her stepdaughter's very dirty.
Just a dirty human being?
Yes. Doesn't wash her hands.
Teenager?
Yes. But
okay, we can all relate.
Well, doesn't pick up dog poop in their room.
Oh, no.
When I say not clean, I mean...
Oh, unsanitary.
Completely.
Okay.
So she's been gone on a 2-week work training trip and hasn't been home. She's coming home. And so there's discussions, especially because of, the virus that's the whole thing about cleanliness and stuff. And she's very worried if she got this virus, right?
Right.
She's a high risk pregnancy.
Right.
So, and the bio dad doesn't want to make his daughter, her stepdaughter, feel uncomfortable about having cleanliness conversations or wash your hands or
how do you
lay
make a
down.
kid feel uncomfortable about that? That's parenting 101.
This is who this person is. It's with everything. This is not a new, so, okay. But so she was asking, what do we do? How, and my advice is, and I think this advice carries over to other maybe uncomfortable things that you have to deal with amongst your siblings and step siblings and kids in the home. It's find a solution, I said, put a hand, a sanitizer dispenser thing by the front door, walk in, everyone who walks in your house, whether it's your stepdaughter, your husband, your friends, everyone just sanitizes. And maybe that is easier than washing your hands, and it's something that you make everyone do.
Yeah, it sounds like this stems somewhere a lot longer ago.
Oh, for sure. But the advice is here, it's if you have to deal with something or with one child in your household, why not single that child out, but make it a
whole
family thing. Our family is going to adopt this new procedure where we leave our shoes at the door and we sanitize our hands. Everyone who comes into our house. So it doesn't have to be a singled out, uncomfortable conversation if that's how you feel as a parent, but it's actually our whole family's going to do this.
Right.
And I think that kids are less defensive. I think
everyone is at that point.
When you're singled out, it doesn't feel good.
No, it doesn't.
And then you feel shame and you feel guilt and you feel
dirty.
And you just feel like you're not liked or welcomed or whatever
or clean.
Dude. So that's a good piece of advice. I think that all blended families, and even if you're not a blended family, if you have a person in your family that's dealing with something, you can talk about it in a general way and apply helpful rules and helpful tips and just, across the board to everyone.
Right.
So I just thought that was a sweet little piece of advice that blended family people can use. So there's that. Financial fairness for the kids in your blended family. This is something that somebody wrote about because basically, okay, I will set the scene for everyone.
Dun, dun, dun.
Blended family, kids, right, each have bio parents.
Right.
They are on a very tight budget.
Okay.
In their home. So they get told and know a lot, they can't afford a lot of things. They can't afford new soccer cleats, let's say. Bio mom, not in the blended family household.
Okay.
Has money and spoils her kids.
Okay.
And gets them brand new iPhones, brand new whatever they need. They get the newest and greatest and latest of everything.
Okay.
And her own biological son, the stepmom in this situation, right, sees that the other two kids in the home are getting all the things.
Okay.
And this child isn't able to have that because that family can't afford, she can't afford to provide that for her son.
Right.
And it's causing a lot of resentment amongst the ranks, right? Like she's resentful because she feels like it's unfair. Mm-hmm. Not that, she wants her child to have this stuff too. And so she's dealing with her child who's seeing his step siblings get it and he's not able to have it.
And they're bringing it from the other house into their blended house?
Yeah. Okay. Or, even if it's not in the blended house, it's, any sports thing, they get all the brand new sports gear.
Okay.
So even if it's not in the house, if everyone's going to a sporting game and everyone's there, the kids are going to see, oh, they've got the brand new attire and cleats and bags and, whatever it may be, type of a thing.
Right.
So that's what I mean by financial fairness amongst the kids in the home. I think that it's not really too much of an issue within husband, wife, and a blended family under the roof. But I'm talking more of what do you do or how do you navigate when the other household spoils one set of kids? I'll tell you what I said. And you can't provide it.
Yeah, let me hear what you said everyone. First. I'm curious. No, because I have some input on it too.
Okay, so I think it was a while ago. So I think what I said is you can't punish the kids for their mom doing for them.
Right.
You cannot make children feel bad or shame or guilt for their biological parent, either one of them, providing for them.
Right.
That is, by definition, what we are supposed to do, and everyone's financial situation's different. So I think it's wrong to make these kids feel bad, feel shame, feel guilt, have to hide. I don't think it's right. I don't think that's right. I also don't think you can control or tell a biological parent what they can and cannot buy for their kids.
Yeah, especially in their own household.
Yeah, you can't. So you have no power to help or to change this other parent from doing what they're going to do for their,
Right.
So I just told her that she really needed to use this as a learning tool for her child and teach them some grit and teach them that life isn't fair.
Absolutely. Yep.
And teach them ways to obtain what they want. Because her other issue was, they just get handed everything, and my child actually has to work for stuff.
Yeah, well,
and I was like,
exactly. Yeah, your child. Yeah, your child's gonna grow up and know how to achieve goals and get what they want if they want it bad enough.
Right.
Now, the other thing that I was thinking, because that's all kind of right on exactly what I was thinking. The other thing is, if it is creating a problem within your household, maybe mitigating the kids' usage of the other stuff within your household. So if you're on a car ride and it's the whole family, maybe we're putting our phones away and we're conversating the entire time in the car versus 2 of 3 or 4 or 5, how many kids you have having their
some have something, some don't have anything.
Exactly.
Or maybe learning sharing, also encourage not every kid. You can't,
yeah, there's been times where our kids,
have multiple devices and hey, you're not using that.
Yeah. Or one kid's watching a movie on a device and the other kid doesn't have a device with them, so they watch together on something, teaching them to share and get along. But like you just said, maybe if there are multiple devices, helping out and, sharing with the other kid. And our kids actually still do that. Not that we have the issue of the unfairness of one kid having more than the other, but there's a lot of times where one kid will have something that they no longer use or got a new one and they'll hand it down and vice versa. I've seen it go both ways. In our household. And that's always a nice thing too, because that teaches, just sharing and kindness and kind of the excitement and, just everything that comes along with giving, the kindness of it.
Well, and I think that even in families that are just natural families who aren't blended and just have, if you're a natural family of 5, most people aren't going to be able to afford to get all 3 kids like iPads for Christmas.
Right.
Or, so one kid gets an iPad, one kid gets something else. You kind of have to, I think this exists even and you had siblings. I was raised as an only child. Siblings. But, like growing up, like didn't your siblings ever have something you wanted or you had something that they wanted?
We were, well.
But you guys are the only boy, I guess.
I was the oldest only boy.
What about the girls?
But yeah, it's kind of where are you at? What do you want more? If you're a family that has to pick and choose and, maybe the kid only gets one, each kid only gets one present or something. Well, what do you want? Because you can't have the world. And even though some families have the means of giving the kids everything they want, some and most families don't, so what's more important to you? And then one of our listeners just said it's a good time to teach that things aren't that important, Thanks for chiming in and talking with us. Costa or Costa? Costa. Yes. Hello.
Yeah, I think that's, yes.
I can't read.
There's so many lessons that can be birthed out of this situation. And I think that is our ultimate job as parents, is to raise up humans that can exist beyond our household successfully. And the truth is life isn't fair. The truth is used items are reality. Like most people buy used cars, right? Not everyone can go out and buy a brand new car.
No, that's a great
get.
Example.
You're not buying a brand new house. You're building a house that's probably built.
Well, and
people have lived in before.
Getting kids over that jealousy issue, because jealousy is something that just grows up into older parents and turns into drama.
Totally.
And all of a sudden now you care what Karen has or what Jimmy has or, or it's now keeping up with the Kardashians, but it used to be keeping up with someone or another. I can't remember.
Yeah, and I think fairness, even if it's not financial fairness, I think every family deals with kids feeling like things aren't fair. We often deal with this in our home, and we have conversations with our children about that. Like you're right, your situation's different.
Yep.
My situation son is different than his son's situation. So yes, it isn't fair.
But
vice versa's had to been
right.
said, know?
But you also stop them at that point where you say, yes, it's different, but look at all your blessings. Look at everything you've got going for you.
Right.
Stop,
They're all different.
Stop worrying about what they have
right.
or what they're doing, and be grateful and thankful for what you have and what you've got going.
Right.
You know?
You need to spin it, and, kids need
Make
to
kids think about it. Open their minds.
Right. My kids went to something called the ASI Children's Center at Cal Poly. It was anyway, they went to school there through kindergarten. And I learned so much about being a parent there, because one of the most valuable lessons is that when kids are struggling with something, whether it is sibling like when kids are in a struggle, especially little kids, on the playground who are 3-4 years old and they're fighting over something, how do you handle that? So you get down on their level, right? You squat down so you're eye to eye. You're not towering over them. Yeah. That's a really important parent life lesson. Get down on your child's level. You also have to give them a script to teach them how to work through things. So kids don't often have the awareness or the aptitude or the knowledge of what to say and what to think to get them over difficult hurdles in their life. So you really have to, as a parent, speak that truth into their lives and give them a script. Hey, instead of hitting this child because you're mad at them for stealing something, why don't we ask him hey, I was playing with that. I'm not done with it yet. Right. But kids react and they don't have the language
it's our job
to deal with that.
It's our job as parents to give them those tools. Absolutely.
And that never ends.
Right.
When kids are going through breakups, they have to be told, don't break up with a girl over text.
Right.
Kids have to be talked through. They're having a difficult situation with a teacher. We'll go into the teacher's classroom and sit down and ask them what the expectation is. Kids don't even think to do that. They're just pissed and not doing homework and whatever, acting out. And so I think that also with fairness, when you're dealing with that in your home, you have to kind of, like Eric said, flip their script to a heart of gratitude. You might not have an iPhone, but you have food every day. You have clothes every day.
You have that new bicycle that you get to ride.
Yeah, you can watch cartoons on a Saturday morning. There are some kids who don't have TV.
Right.
You know, you have friends. Do you know how many kids have no friends and are bullied? You tell me I have no friends.
Yeah, we have no friends.
But I just think that you need to and then if you continuously change your kids' minds to a script of gratitude, they will eventually, it might take 1,000 times, but that is where their mind will be trained to go.
Yeah.
And another thing I was thinking about actually just now about this topic is if you have a good or decent or civil co-parenting relationship, I would also try to, I don't think you should bring the kids in on it or make them feel shamed or wrong. Like I said, I stick by that, but it might be reasonable to reach out to the parent who's just, to the kid and say, hey, thanks so much for all you do. I really appreciate it. And the kids are so blessed by your generosity, right? Always start out with positive and gratitude yourself, right? We're teaching kids gratitude. You also need to lead with that. And then maybe just say, we're unable to do all that you're able to do. So would it be okay when little Johnny comes over that the iPad stays at your house? It may not work. You may be told to pound sand or F off or whatever. But I think that is worth a try. And I think that you'll get a lot farther, the nicer and the more kind and...
Right. No, it's great advice.
So I would also try that if that is your situation. A lot of us have, we'd still be married if we had great
easy working co-parenting relationships. Yeah.
Because marriages work. And if you can work together, I don't know why you're divorced.
Because you have distance between you.
I guess. So anything else you want to add about financial? What about when it comes to grandparents? We've talked about that on this show. Grandparents, same deal.
Yeah. And That's kind of a sticky wicket because grandparents are kind of biased towards our kids, and that's a normal thing we've come to realize. I mean, because they've been there forever.
They've been there since day one. They've had
however, it is one of those things that as you grow as a blended family and as your relationship grows and time grows, all of a sudden, like, grandparents have been with these kids for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. So it's kind of like, you know what? Like, it's our job as the parents to mitigate that and be like, look, I understand you love these kids so much, but we also have these kids that are our children, and you need to love them the same, and you need to do the same for them, or you need to do nothing for all of them equally. Like, it needs to be equal because the kids do realize that, and the kids do see that. And as they grow up, the kids don't get mad at the grandparents. They get mad at each other, and they become resentful towards each other, just like we talked about. So that's a real easy one because we are able to parent with our parents and grandparents, you know, to make that situation easier. That isn't necessarily so easy to do with the other biological parents who we are not around as often, who we don't get along with as often.
Yeah.
Right?
And, you know, there are some parents and grandparents. Well, first of all, you should never tell your parents how they're going to do and what they're going to do, right? You come at them also. Thank you so much for all you do. We're so grateful for you. I feel like you have to pad it a little bit and not be so harsh. You will get a lot farther because, you know, I think everyone gets super offended because they feel like, well, I do so much and you're ungrateful, and you need to break down that wall before it's even created in their heads by acknowledging the good. I think that's super important in any relationship, but I think that you can ask grandparents, like, explain to them how it affects all the kids, because a lot of time grandparents aren't part of a blended family themselves. They don't understand or comprehend the effects of their actions on the kids because it's not in their wheelhouse. They have no idea. And so you need to operate out of a place of, like, trying to nicely explain to them about all the kids and how this is affecting them. And if they're still unresponsive or unreceptive to that, I mean, you are the parents, so maybe they just don't hang out with the kids without you guys present. Yeah. I mean, you do have control over that.
Right.
So I think anyway.
I think that was my point, is you have control as a parent, a lot more control than you do of the other household. So trying to make that situation as fair as possible, it kind of comes down to us as the middleman, just creating that fairness and awareness.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So what about dealing with double standards in your home? Like, it's okay for one person to do this, but not okay for the other person to do that.
That's a total parenting issue. That completely comes down to parenting. And parents need to be on the same page.
What if they're just not?
Then it can't be an issue. It really can't. Like, is it okay for double standards to exist in a home? I think it does. I mean, I think double standards exist in every home. Right. But again, it depends. Like, is that all right with you as a parent? And if it is, then okay. If it's not, then it's your job as a parent to get to the core of it. Like, the household remember, it's parents before kids, mom and dad before kids.
Yeah, but I think in blended families, right, like we always talk about different parenting styles, you know, I think ultimately parents are going to do what they feel is in the best interest of their kids. And a lot of blended families, husband and wife, are not on the same page. And at what point do you just accept it and live your life? Because you can only shout at the rain so long,
But
right?
if it's bothering you in your blended family, then you need to take initiative and change it. You can't just go on living unhappy because that's just the way it is. If it's making you unhappy, it's your job to change it and fix it and find tools to work and fix it and have those conversations.
But if the other parent is not willing to get on board or change or meet you halfway,
or have those conversations,
like, what do you do in that situation?
I don't know. I don't know if there is much that you can do. I think that you need to just continue to work and maybe just pray about it and really just do your best to do your best. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. But ultimately, it's up to us as parents to make that happen.
Yeah. And I just think the double standard thing kind of goes back to the fairness thing. You know, I just think that there's some things that, listen, parents in natural families don't agree on. Just because you share a child biologically and you're married for 50 years doesn't mean you've agreed on everything.
Right.
There are some things you just have to let go and move on from and not let it ruin your day. You know, what hills are you willing to shed blood and die on? I think that double standards in a home is normal and natural, even more so in a blended family, because you're coming into your blended family pre-established with your own ideals and, you know, and there's so many cooks in the kitchen too. Like, you might be more aligned with your ex about raising your children. I might be more aligned with my ex about raising kids. And then you have us that are, there's just.
Yeah, but at that point, are you just cohabitating or are you blending your family? Because I feel like blending should never stop happening. So you should always be working towards making things better and just not settling. Because if everyone's just settling on this, that, and the other thing, you aren't blending. You're stuck. You're cookie dough at that point.
Oh, I totally agree.
You know
but
what I mean?
you can shout at the rain for so long. When do you lose your voice eventually?
Yeah, but is the other person not hearing you? Do you try to get different tactics, how to talk, how to sit down and, maybe we keep talking about something the same way over and over. Do you bring it up a different way? Do you there's different ways of going about things,
Yeah.
Do you now take your spouse and be like, hey, listen, let's go out to dinner. We need to talk, or not tell them, but change.
Don't tell them.
Change
just shock them.
Just change the situation. A lot of people get stuck in these routines, in these ruts of doing the same thing over and over and not getting results. If you're not getting results doing something, change the way you're doing it.
Yes, I hear
Shouting
you.
at the rain, maybe the rain doesn't hear you because you're shouting at it. You know what I'm saying?
But okay, so blended family marriage, you have different parenting styles. You bring something up and all the other person does is defend their kid and why that's allowed. And they're sounding, it's like, it's fine if your kids can't do this, mine can. These are the reasons why. And hence, you got two different things going on.
Right.
What do you do with that?
I feel like that's stuff that should have been worked out, or
you can't have a crystal ball. Like, when we got to, my daughter was in diapers.
Right.
I can't predict what we're gonna have to deal with 6 years down the road.
True.
When you hit that, like, life evolves, man. So if you're making decisions for your kids and you have to do it kind of separately because you're co-parenting with someone else.
Right.
Truly.
Right.
And then you're trying, it's just
rather
such
than
a
trying
tough
to
thing
get,
when somebody's defending their kid and defending why this is being done. And it might be like, I don't think there's one right way to parent or to have a blended family or to raise kids. But I think the problem blended family marriages have with different parenting styles is both people are right. And they're different. Like,
yes, but it's also, it comes down to communication. Parents aren't communicating. If you're shouting at the rain and not getting results, and one parent thinks that they're always right and that's just the way it is, that's not communication.
Yes, but they're just defending their kid and their reasoning, and this is why I'm doing this, and it's sound.
Then use one of your choice words and be like, this is bull, and we're not going to do it this way. Like, put on pants and let's dance.
Or take them off and bend over.
Oh my gosh. Yes, because that makes sense. No, but really, like, you need to get to the heart of it. If it's something that you're dragging around with you always and it's affecting you, it sounds like it's it's lack of communication in a household. And it really needs to come down to the parents, and they need to get on board and they need to talk about things. And maybe it's not about what one kid's doing and the other kid's not, or these kids are doing this.
Or just parenting styles, like how you're raising these kids.
Anything. But you know what? Maybe it's like, hey, and usually our kids are all at different ages, right? Like my kids are different than your kids as far as ages go. So when we get to these bridges, it's not like, well, my kid's crossing this bridge, so I'm going to go cross it with them. Let me know when you get there, or this is how it's going to be when you get there. But rather than calling them my kid and saying, my kid's crossing this bridge, our kid is crossing this bridge. How are we going to deal with this? And having the conversations. Again, communication, having that communication. And I see you kind of smirking about it.
Well, because I just feel like I feel a lot of times that step parents, and I'm not just talking about myself, but even being a step kid and watching my own step parents in life,
right,
having connection with other step parents in life, especially when the other biological parent is present and accounted for,
right,
you have zero power. I just think people think that it should be different, and it probably should be different. But when road meets the rubber, you have zero power. Like the biological
you think you have zero power, but that's actually not completely the truth. That's like being in a state that votes one way and knowing that no matter what, it's going to be voted that way, and saying, well, I have no power in that. You always have power. It might not be as much as the next person, but always casting your vote means that you at least have some power. You have some say in it. So even if you feel like you have no power or no say in something, at least let your voice be heard. Then you at least have ground to stand on and room to argue. But
then you're setting yourself up to always be shot down. Like,
yeah, but then if
you're always shot down, or like it's always you bring things up and you're always told
right,
why you're wrong and why we're right and this is what we're going to do, then it's kind of like, why am I going to keep putting myself in the freeway to get run over?
Because
I don't enjoy that.
Yes, because then when you do this and you just shut down and you don't communicate anymore, and you're just like, well, they're going to do what they're going to do. They're going to do what they're going to do.
What if that's the reality, though?
But then that is just creating it's not even a relationship at that point. There's no communication there. It's one person doing what they're going to do with their kids and another person doing what they're going to do with their kids. And all that is cohabitation.
Right.
That is not a blended family.
Yes. And this is the birth. That situation births all the double standards in your home. So if you have a ton of double standards in your home, I think it's a direct correlation of how mismatched your marriage is. You guys are not.
So again, it comes down to us, the parents. It comes down to the adults in the household to get it together and get on the same page about things. And maybe 20 things has passed, but 10,000 things are yet to come. So why not start now and figure it out?
Yeah.
All
right. Well, we would love to hear how you guys deal with double standards in your home. And if you're a step parent and you're feeling powerless, how do you resolve? I mean, I love to learn. So how do you resolve that? And if you're a bio parent who just has carte blanche, I would love to know why you think that that's cool. Like, I just want to understand everyone's points of view, and I want to learn from everyone. So message me, comment below. It's a hard topic. This is one that I think is dealt with a lot, and one that really comes between marriages. Because I think a lot of arguments in marriages are about the kids and about parenting styles and about, all the things. And it's really hard to tackle when you don't have ours children.
Right.
Totally. So moving on. So keeping your child's secrets from the other bio parent. What do you think about that?
As far as give me examples.
So like your kid comes to you and they're doing something that would get them in trouble at the other home, and it would get them in trouble at the other home, and they're like, don't tell the other parent. Do you keep their confidence, or do you?
It depends. It's like going to a therapist or a shrink. is this a life-threatening thing? Is this risky? Do you see the issues in it or do you not? I mean, because at the end of the day, you're either breaking trust with your kid or, you know, if the other parent asks you, I feel like, well, you know what? Like if they have a hunch enough to ask you,
do you lie?
You don't lie. No. We don't lie. And that's the lesson that the kid's going to have to learn. Like, well, you shouldn't have been doing that. And you shouldn't have put me on the spot to have to lie, you know? Now, if it's not life-threatening, if it's something kind of minor, you know, you talk to them about it, be like, well, I'm not going to go to your parent about this. However, you shouldn't be doing this, you know, and what's the reason behind this? Try to understand things because sometimes parents just do crazy things and, you know, we ask or punish our kids in weird ways for unknown reasons, you know. I mean, we all have our reasons, but sometimes parents are just parents, you know, and we're people too.
And I think that I want to stand up for the other bio parent in this situation. But here's why. I think that I think co-parenting is important.
Right.
Whether you're failing or succeeding, I feel like kids need both parents. Kids really need both parents to co-parent as for their own well-being, as good, like as seamless as possible. And so I think you have to respect, especially if you're co-parenting well, or you are, you know, you have a good co-parenting relationship. I don't know why you would want to ever disrespect that. And I think that a lot of times we don't fully understand because we aren't with our other spouse anymore and we're not in their home and we're not having the experiences with our kids that they're having with our kids.
Right.
Kids oftentimes play the two houses between each other, especially as they get older, right? I can get away with this here. I can't get away with that there. This is wrong here, so I want to be there. The thing is that we have to respect, first and foremost, that they're the parent too. And also, if their rules aren't hurting them and their rules aren't abusive or kind of like therapy, flip that.
Right.
Then I think that you have to respect the parent and you have to understand that you don't understand either what's going on in their home with this child.
So do you, as the parent who hears the secret or whatever it may be, do you go running to the other parent now? Like, do you go, oh, I heard something?
Well, I think that kids need to know that you're not going to keep secrets, first and foremost. I think kids will respect, and that's what someone Cindy Lou wrote in. I think kids need to see you're on the same team. Why would kids ask to keep a secret? Well, because they're going to get in trouble in the other home.
Right.
That's ultimately why all kids would ask you, you know, unless it's an abusive situation, and that's not what we're talking about. Obviously, you report that and it goes right away. But I'm just saying, like, I think kids also need to understand that, especially if you have a good co-parenting relationship, that you have the other parent's back. I think that will go a far, like, you can't.
Yeah, I mean, but, okay, so here's a situation that I was just put in a little while back. So my daughter drives. She has a car. She needs her oil change. She says, "Hey, Dad."
Are you sure is this okay?
I don't care.
Okay.
I mean, it's not that big of a deal, and I'll back it. But this is a situation that we're talking about like this. She goes,
"Okay,
Dad, I need my oil changed. Can you help me change my oil? You know, sometime coming up soon." Actually, I think I probably asked her, being the dad I am, "When was the last time you changed your oil?" She's like, "What do you mean, change my oil?" So her car's making noises. She's like, "I need my oil changed. Something's going on with it." So she comes over, and I take her to the parts store. We get all of her parts. And earlier, and I hope no one gets in trouble for this, but I take full responsibility, like, because it was my doing, like, it's my responsibility. And her mom texts me and says, make her pay for her own oil and do all of her stuff. Well, she's not in our household as often. I don't buy her stuff like I do my biological son or even my stepkids. I don't get to.
She doesn't live here.
She doesn't live here.
Mm-mm.
I go sometimes weeks without seeing her. I talk to her quite often on the phone, but
You have a heart to want to do for her too.
I don't get to do for her like I do for anyone else. I mean, even I do more for my own parents than I do for her. Not because I want to, just because I'm around them more.
Right.
You know? So her mom texts me and says, it's her car, make her pay for her own oil change, yada, yada, yada. Okay? So we get to the parts store. I'm standing there, ring everything up, and just by natural dad, pay for her parts, you know? And it wasn't that much money. It was not much. Remind you, she works as much as she can. She goes to school as often as she has to. She gets good grades. You know, she's a good student. And she's my daughter. I'm like, I'm going to pay for her oil. Like, I'm not going to stand there and be like, okay, now fork up. You know what I mean? Like, I don't get to do as much for her. So I paid for her oil. Like, ooh, brought it home. You know, it's not like she's like, oh, go drop me off somewhere and let me know when it's done. She hung out with me, you know, like we did her oil change and I sent her on her way. You know, didn't make it a big deal. But I'm like, it's stuff like that where it's like. But
you told her what? I feel like this also has to be put out there. You told her not to tell her mom.
I said, well, your mom asked me not to pay for this stuff. I said,
but you told her not to tell her mom.
I said, but yeah, don't let her know that I paid for this because I don't want it to become an issue.
So
am I being a bad parent at that point because I'm taking care of?
You're making it about you. And
let me use one of your words. That.
Well, because here's the deal. Like, you're asking your daughter to lie to her mom, and that's only going to get her in trouble. And I don't think that's right or fair.
Okay.
I don't think it's right or fair to ask our kids to lie to their other parent. I don't care over what.
Right.
I don't think that's right. So fuck me. Secondly.
Dude, she didn't even give me a heads up.
Secondly, you know, you have to respect the lessons that her bio mom, full-time parent is trying to teach her. I'm sorry. I get both sides. You're right.
But there's so much, it's so much deeper than that though.
I get it, but maybe, and you guys chime in, write down, like, it would have been like, hey, I'm just letting you know I bought her stuff.
I could have, but it never came back up. And if her mom would have asked me like who paid for it, I would have told her and I would have told her why.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not that big of a deal. And it's not like,
it's right.
And I didn't
totally
tell her,
agree.
and I didn't tell her like that to be like,
but that's what it's promoting, you know, like even
I guess
it
maybe
matters.
I'm just a shitty parent, but whatever.
I just I just don't think like kids shouldn't be made to feel like they can't tell their, but she's
totally allowed. Like I wouldn't be mad at her if she's like, well, yeah, dad paid for it. And I wouldn't, knowing my daughter, if you knew her and anyone knew her, she's not going to lie to her mom about it. If she's asked, I'm like, just don't go talking about it.
I think teenagers lie to their parents about a lot of things.
Well, maybe you did, but.
No.
Oh.
You always were straightforward with your parents about everything.
Pretty much.
You never told a lie to your parents.
I mean, maybe, but I feel like me and my parents.
You're the perfect child.
I don't think I was, but like, I don't feel like I had much to lie about. Like, my parents knew everything I was doing, what was going on and what I had going on, you know. But then again, you know, most people aren't as close as they are.
I do think that this specific daughter has caught herself in lies before. Okay. Like said, right?
Cool. Yeah. Okay.
So I just don't think, like, I would be bummed if, and it probably happens. It does happen. You know, I would be bummed if any of our kids were told by the other home, like, not to tell us something, like lie to them.
I'd never say lie. Like don't
tell them.
Don't go like, just don't go promoting it. Like I didn't say it like that, and I don't think that it was discussed like that. But it's like, you know, I was asked not to pay for this stuff. Like I'm going to,
right?
And I tell her I'm going to, and I don't think I asked her like, don't tell your mom. Like I don't think I said that.
That's what you had told me at the time.
Yes,
it just was like, oh,
I'm
weird.
not good. I'm not a good communicator as it comes to be. So
okay,
I think that, yeah.
But on the flip side,
don't be a deadbeat parent. Like take care of your kids.
Yeah.
You know, do things for your kids. Show them that they matter and that they're special.
But don't you think parents have the right to teach their kids lessons?
Amen. Yes.
On both sides. Like I feel like there's some things I don't agree with that happen in the other home, but I have to at the end of the day respect that this is my kid's father and he's teaching them lessons that I'm not going to teach them.
Right.
because we're different people. We have a
Right.
different skill set. We have different life experiences. So, I think that it's a fine line you have to walk between being like doing what you feel is right and respecting the other
Yeah.
parent. It's a hard dance. Like blended family life is fucking hard.
Why? Anyways, it doesn't have to be this hard, you guys. Like, communicate, get it together, like, put your big boy pants on, and like just do right by everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Cindy Lou says that you should have the option to spend what you want on your daughter.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of selfish on the other part too, that I get put in that situation. Like, don't buy that for her. Don't do this for her. Don't do that for her.
And maybe you...
And then at the end of the day, you're just a deadbeat parent.
Well, could you have told her in that moment, like, if I'm going to change her oil, I'll do what I want?
I didn't respond.
I will tell you, if I had said that he would have been like, pound sand, like, I'm going to go do what I want. And then it would have been...
But that's the problem with your co-parenting. You guys are going to sit there and then you're going to fight about it. And then it's going to be about you or it's going to be about him, where I'm just like, I'm not going to respond. I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to tell her that this was asked and just don't bring it up because it's going to be an issue.
Yeah.
And I'm sure now I brought it up, it'll probably be an issue. But again,
I hope not. Gosh, I know it's so hard. This podcast is so hard. I'm always like, is it going to get any of our kids in trouble?
What? Again, honesty. Like, put on your big boy pants, talk about what you need to talk about, or don't talk about what you need to talk about. Honesty, show up, be there, be a good person. Like, you can hate me for it, but we're divorced. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a hard spot to be in. I don't know. I was just giving the flip side of the coin. I'm going to get hate mail. People hate me.
That's all right.
So does he, you guys. It's fine. Adult children and divorce. So this is really interesting because we had someone write in and she got, I'm bringing this up because I went to therapy for 1.5 years and learned a whole lot. And so I want to share with you guys. So she brings up that she got divorced. Her oldest is 22 and her oldest is not accepting of her new boyfriend. And boyfriend has given ultimatum, like, either you tell her she's got to accept me or she's not welcome here anymore. It's a disaster. And, you know, she's a grown woman. Like, either she needs to respect here. And I don't even think they live together. I think this is just boyfriend who doesn't live at the house, but like is over for special occasions or dinners a lot. And the daughter doesn't accept him. And there's a whole backstory about that. But it begs the question, like, when kids are adults, what is the level of respect for the parent's life expected?
It kind of comes down to who they are as an adult. If they can't get along, if boyfriend and daughter can't get along, well, it sucks, but you're in between a rock and a hard place. So you need to make sure that they're not at the same place at the same time until they can get along. You can't, yes, that's your daughter, and you can tell her that she should respect, but at the end of the day, she's an adult. So if your adult daughter can't get along with your adult boyfriend, then your adult daughter shouldn't be around when your boyfriend's around, right? Like, it's a bummer. It's a real crappy thing, but you're not going to control either of them. So you need to make the situation as good as possible and not have them around each other, which also kind of sucks because then what about big holidays? You know, when stuff like that comes up. So now you need to reflect within yourself and be like, is this how I want to live? Is it worth it how she's acting? Or does she see something in him that I don't? What's the issue here? If she's just being selfish and childish as an adult child, you know, like, well, then you need to tell her, like, get over it. Like, you need to see that I'm with him. I care for him. He's a good person. He treats me well. I love him. We're going to be together. And I hope that you can accept that. And if you can't, well, then you're still my daughter. I'll be around you when I can, you know, and when you and I have something to do. But Christmas time, this is now my husband, you know, if it gets to that point, and we're going to do family things. You're invited if you can get along, but if you can't, then sorry.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah. I love having men in our support group because it's always, men and women come at things completely differently, which balances us out. It's kind of perfect, But that's also what a man said in our support group was like, you're an adult. You have every right to run your household the way you see fit. This child is not a minor anymore, so you need to be happy. You need to run your home, and they either come or they don't, but that's their adult decision to make, kind of a thing. So I want to share this. We're going to wrap up here, but I want to let you guys know. So I was in therapy. It took me 1.5 years. And the story of my marriage ending would take too long here, but what I was told in therapy when I was struggling is the therapist asked me this. He said, "Is your marriage doomed?" He's like, "Are you for sure this is going to end now or later?" Because I was struggling with, do we white knuckle this until the kids are 18?
Right.
Because I can do that. I can white knuckle something. I've lived with it this long. As long as I know there's an end in sight, I can do that for them because I love my kids. Is that in their best interest? Do I white knuckle this till they're 18 or do we pull the plug now? What do I do? And I'll never forget. He asked me, is it going to end one way or another? Are you sure about that? And I'm like, yes, I am sure about that. He said this. He said, it's better for kids to do it as young as possible if that is the end result anyway. He said what happens when your kids are grown adults or the older they get and then they learn their whole parents' marriage was a lie and everything they thought they knew was a lie, or you put us through this hell of a marriage for all these years. Why did you not, you've heard that, kids are like, why didn't you split up? Our household was miserable.
Right. Kids in high school.
So now we are finally able to leave this hell hole. And now you guys decide to split up. And that rocks kids more. It is more destructive to end a marriage later for those reasons. Kids can't come back from that, and it really messes with their heads forever. What happens when kids are younger, their brains aren't fully developed yet. They're they're more accepting of change. They're easily adapted to different situations. They're more resilient to change. And so it's easier for younger kids to process and get through it because they're just more pliable. And so what I think this mom is experiencing is that she divorced when her kid was an adult already. And I think that this is a perfect situation of the aftermath of that. Her daughter is still broken and not healed and has a lot of issues still with mom. And I told the mom this, I said, this boyfriend, who the hell is he to her? He's just your boyfriend. He's not your husband. He's not your fiance. She's so broken, probably still, because people disregard that kids are adults. So they should just not care about their parents who they've lived with their entire lives. Could you imagine someone just said you should stop caring about your parents?
Right.
As an adult?
Yeah, not going to happen.
But that is the expectation I think that adults have when they rock their kids' worlds as their adult kids. And I don't think there's enough understanding or grace or so I just, that's what this sounds like to me. And I feel like you need to reel in expectations because adult or not, kids are always your kids.
Right.
We're
about to lose Instagram. Bye, you guys.
Bye, Insta.
Thanks for being with us.
So.
Yeah, well.
Do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think I've seen that be a really hard thing with adults, or kids as they get older. And it is a tougher, harder thing
It's
for
hard
them.
for parents. It just, and especially adult children who are married
right.
and their parents get divorced.
Right.
It has split up marriages.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Their own. Everything they've known is they can't resolve it in their own heads and they're just broken.
Yeah. So consider all sides.
That's right.
Absolutely. So if you guys like this, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and we thank you guys for being with us and sharing your blended families with our blended family and becoming part of our bigger blended family. So thank you all for being with us.
Yeah, thanks you guys.
We'll see you guys next time.
Toodles.
Bye.